So that works digitally as well as it does physically. We all wear designer labels often because they signal something, and we do the same on the internet. And the PFP became the important part of that movement. So CryptoPunks became the PFP that people would show that they could afford to spend the money on it, but also that they understood the space and where it was going. Then on the scene came Bored Ape Yacht Club, and this was a whole new thing, because what they did, Yuga Labs, was they realized that you could do a lot more with it. That this could be the genesis to a whole media thing or a gaming thing, something really, really different. And so the Bored Ape Yacht Club took off, and its value is now often higher than CryptoPunks. Why is that? Well, CryptoPunks are a little bit like Bitcoin. There's less applications built on them. In fact, there's none. There's just the punk itself. And that's the status symbol and the signaling that comes with it, a part of history. But Bored Ape Yacht Club also created history, but it did something different. It said you kind of are going to get future rights to other things that we do as we grow out this project. What that means, we don't know yet. And that created the thing of the roadmap, where you got drop benefits by being part of the community. So whether it was the Mutant Apes, or whether it's the Bored Ape Kennel Club, or the token, the ape token, or it's the other side deeds to their metaverse experience, or the sewer pass, all of these things actually trade for huge value. And actually, the accumulation of value for the original Bored Ape Yacht Club holders, had you held on to it, is one of the largest accumulations in corporate history. And it is a corporate, and it's your kind of stake in their network. And this is the network effects and the network state ideas that I want to talk to you about as well. I want to also talk about ETH as an economy. This network state idea I've been thinking about in my head. And ETH to me is the closest approximation for the network economy. You see, when you look at the Ethereum economy itself, you have the economic activity, which is the on-chain activity of Ethereum itself. It generates fees, it does a whole bunch of other stuff. But then, as part of that, it breaks down to subcomponents. So there is a public sector, central bank style bond market, which is the yield curve, which is coming from ETH staking yields. And as ETH moves towards kind of flexible staking yields with this Shanghai merge, it means we should have a yield curve out to 1 year for sure, and maybe longer. So that looks very much like a traditional economy, where you've got a cost of capital over a shorter period of time. You've got yield that generates interest income that gets reinvested in the economy. So that's very interesting. Then we've also got a private sector lending market, which is DeFi. So much like the traditional economy, like the US economy, it has DeFi and other kind of lending areas make up the banking sector. So that's kind of interesting, and that's still pretty nascent. So my guess is, as a percentage of GDP, and I'm going to do some work on ETH GDP and how to think of it as an economy. I'm just thinking through it. But as a percentage of GDP, the financial sector is very small still in the Ethereum economy, and should grow over time, because in every single market, the financial economy is usually grows faster than the actual economy itself, particularly in this phase, i.e. the early phase of an economy. It also has, I think, an equity layer. And the equity layer I'm thinking of is like the layer 2. So these are like companies. So you could think of Polygon as like Google. So it works within, like Google does within the US economy or the global economy, generates revenues that are different to the underlying economy but add to it. And that's what these layer 2s do. So I think they're like the equity layer, the companies that sit on top. And I understand they're protocols and not companies, etc. But I think that's how I'm thinking about it. And same with the applications, other applications layers as well. That these are like companies being built on top of the network, which is what they are, which creates network value. But it also is what creates economic value. So if you think of the United States, it has all of the companies that make up part of its economy that creates the GDP. The government sector being one part of it, but the private sector being the huge part, and that's the driver of GDP growth. And so I think that the ETH economy is remarkably similar.